guys. Welcome to Block Party. I'm your host, Mike Wahle. Thanks for watching. If you're enjoying, please subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio. You can check us out really wherever you get your podcast. If you want the audio version for the video, go to our Process to Perform channel on YouTube. You check out all the breakdowns, all the film clips we put together for you. I hope you're enjoying them. If you are, subscribe, rate, and review on those. Find me at Mike Wahle68 on Twitter. You can obviously hit me up with any questions you have about this game, any game that has to do with Green Bay, certainly with the NFL, football in general, and then our Process to Perform channel on Instagram. Our show is always sponsored by BetOnline. BetOnline continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, the NBA, and college basketball, to NHL, to UFC, we have it also. Head to BetOnline today, and don't forget to use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, the game starts here. So the Vikings win 27-25 over the Packers. There's a lot to learn from this loss. Let's start by saying what I think needs to be said is one of the most obvious things. This is two very good football teams that we're dealing with here. And I just wanted to pull up the rankings this year because this season, maybe more than any other season in recent memory, it feels like the disparity between good teams and bad teams is like at an all-time high. So I'm going through this. The AFC, go the AFC East. You got the Bills, and the Dolphins are fighting for 500. Everybody else is terrible. The Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, good AFC West, good division. NFC or AFC North, you got two good football team, really one good football team. The Steelers, Bengals are fighting for it, and then the Browns are 3-13. 3-13 for the Titans, 4-12 for the Jaguars, 7-9 for the Colts. Texans are a pretty good team trying to find their way right now. You look over at the NFC, and you got Eagles and Commanders. Those other two teams not worth talking about. The NFC West is just honestly a swath of mediocrity. I'm sure when you get Matthew Stafford into the playoffs, you talk about something a little bit different. You look at the NFC South, you got average, below average, and terrible with the Panthers. And then you look at the NFC North, and you're just dealing with two 14-win teams. The Packers are a good football team at 11-5. Obviously, can't 5 losses against 5 good football teams. So they are, on that second or third tier of good, but they are a good football team. And then obviously the Bears have all their struggles. But these are two good football teams. I think you learn a lot, and I want to start with the defense this week. I think you just learn a lot about where the Packers are and where they need to go, because when you watch this football game again on tape, what really stands out is, and I think I said this on the show yesterday, look, Sam Darnold breaks records yesterday. 33 for 43, 377 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. Only gets sacked once, and I think that's the name of the game, really is two things that were very evident. One, Kevin O'Connell had an answer for everything that was thrown at him. I mean, they had the old adage is if you see pressure, throw to where the guy left, and they did that, almost robotically. They were able to run the ball enough to keep everybody honest, but really, this was a passing football game. They hit so many 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3s, manable situations, checkdowns. He had so much time to throw. The name of the game really was defensive line. You keep saying it every week. Are we going to create this? Are we going to be able to win one-on-one? Do we have to bring pressure, or can we create matchups that are advantageous for our guys? They had a couple good weeks, clearly playing some inferior football teams, particularly up front. You think about last week with the Saints. And so you got to feel good about that. But the reality is against a above average, not great Minnesota offensive line, Minnesota for large parts of the game looked like they were just running a clinic tape against our pass rush. You had to bring some extra guys on. There's a couple of plays where Cooper is our linebacker and is really creating the best pass rush against either one of their tight ends, running backs, or right tackle. So the whole thing kind of makes you wonder and scratch your head. Do you have a pass rush plan? What is it? Are we getting better at that position? I'm not sure what the answer is. Justin Jefferson starts off slow, ends up having a good day, 8 catches, 92 yards, no touchdowns. But there's a couple plays in the game. We can talk about the secondary if you want to, but the reality is, like, if you don't get pass rush up front, you're not going to. It doesn't matter against that combination of receivers and tight ends, running backs out of the backfield. It doesn't matter who you've got if Jair Alexander's healthy, et cetera, et cetera. Evan Williams is healthy, it doesn't matter, because if Sam Darnold, who is one hell of a good thrower of the football and has been developed by this staff into being a good football player, if you put that person in a situation where he can hold the ball for 3 to 5 seconds every single time without getting his head knocked off, he's going to complete a hell of a lot of passes. You're going to look like a bunch of fools. So, unfortunately, that's just the way this game went. And as you're watching the tape chronologically, we'll see it here. It literally is Adrian Cooper makes a play in the run game. They throw for a first down. Adrian Cooper makes a play in the backfield. They throw for a first down. And it's just, there's some other guys that showed up and played well, but this kid plays out of his mind. What are the stats on him? 11 tackles, I think. I think him and Bullard both had 11. He had 4 tackles for loss. Out of your mind, good game. And it goes unnoticed because they get the loss and, all these other things. And really, you just couldn't get any rush up front. So let's check this game out. So numbers issues, okay? Very simple. You've got 6 in the box. Yes, you have, Xavier's walking down. Yes, they're closer to the line of scrimmage. Yes, you have an overhang. You have a 6 in the box with the 2 tight end look. So 12 personnel. You've got 7 across the line of scrimmage. You got 6 in the box. And this is forever going to be problematic. And one of those deals where you're going, schematically, what are we trying to accomplish here if you're the Packers? This is a very easy blocking. So they do a great job of just doing kind of the nod off of the tight end to get Rashad Gary to hesitate a little bit. Doesn't really matter. Kenny Clark wins the one-on-one, and Aaron Jones runs right by him, right? And these things kind of happen because he's fighting pressure, but it's just unfortunate because now he's free to go into the safety, and it's a good way for them to start off with a 7-yard gain. We go under center play action pass, something that we talked about, I think, ad nauseum when we talk about the Minnesota Vikings. So under center play action. And one thing they did early on is they said, okay, we're just going to fire Cooper and we're going to try to create 5v5 because we figure if we have enough one-on-one matchups and, you don't know if they're going to keep the tight ends in, are they going to chip them? Are they going to stay? Blah, 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 blah. But we want to try to free up as many guys for one-on-ones as they can because they think they could win. They didn't, and that's one of the main reasons why you lose. But you bring that guy out, and now your backside backer, Eric Wilson, we've got man on the outside. He's got to go cover that tight end who chipped out. And again, this doesn't seem like a big play, but it's a first down play. You're 2nd and 3, and one thing about the Minnesota Vikings is they don't need chunk plays to win games. They can go down the field. They've proven it all year. They proved it last week. They proved it this week. And there's so many 2nd and 3s, 3rd and 3s that they convert. And the reason they convert a lot of them is because you feel like you have to fire your gun to create pressure for the quarterback. But now you put that other guy in a bad position, whether it's zone and you just find Darnold's finding the space, or they have to go man and they find the free release. Easy pickings. You go under center here. Again, you got a light box. And this kid, you can't really talk enough about. Listen, the kid's just, I think when my initial scouting report, I just called him a war daddy, man. This kid is just a football player. He's crazy good. So that suddenness you don't teach that. Kid's got it, man. Thank your parents. Whatever that is, he's got it. I don't have it. He's got it. So we walk up in the A gap. We got shotgun, and you just got time. And so you finally get to him. And this doesn't look like a big deal, but you can't have this. So you got 2 guys that get a shot on Sam Darnold. And this is a 3rd down play, and they don't convert it. And it doesn't matter if they kick the ball from the 45 or kick the ball from the 45 going in. It doesn't matter. But what matters is the quarterback gets hit and takes the sack and has to feel it and understands that there's a timer on him and there's a consequence to it. Maybe the ball gets knocked out. You can't have this. You miss him. You miss him twice, really. He gets a short completion. They punt the ball away, live to fight another day, okay? And why does it happen? So they run the pick game with Kenny. But this is what I'm talking about. And we talk about this with Rashad Gary all year long. You're at level already. That is the backup tackle. That's not Christian Darrisaw. And he goes over the top. He doesn't bull through the guy. He doesn't make Sam Darnold just feel that, that's number 74 is 320 pounds going in, into his side. He goes over the top of him. Wooten's over there working his ass off. And so, Rashawn's like, oh, I almost had him. It's like, you would have had him if you just bull through him. And for whatever reason, it's just been really hard to get them to do that. And I just tell you, for the perspective of an offensive lineman, you're doing me a favor when you did what you did. What would have killed me is if I'm 2 yards away from the quarterback and you run through my face. That's the one that's hard. So you got 7 guys on the line of scrimmage here. You go motion. This is a 5-second throw for a first down on a second. Another short, short one conversion, 7 to 9 yard gain. 5-second throw. Javon Bullard's a rookie in the National Football League. He's playing against TJ Hawkinson, one of the better tight ends in the league. And you want him to play defense for 5 seconds. Can't do it. Cannot do it. Under center. Play action. This is a house call. Now, the safety, to go back, I know this play isn't completed. Let's watch why this happens, though. They're favoring Justin Jefferson. So you got one-on-one on the other side. And a game could have been worse. I think they ended up punting this ball away. There's always these what ifs, but sometimes we say, oh, it's 27, it was a close game and this and that. There's a lot of things that happen in football games. A lot of things can change. The context of the game matters. The context of the moment matters. And stuff like this, you got to look at this play and go, this isn't just woulda, coulda, shoulda. You got to learn from it. He throws a better ball. It's a touchdown. Look at the time. Now, they do finally flush him with his chest to the sideline. This is something we talked about in the pregame. If you let him step forward, he throws darts. You put him to the sideline, he cannot throw the ball far downfield. He throws the ball out of bounds. It's just not as comfortable. This is not the kind of dynamic quarterback that can run to his right and throw back to his left. This is what you should have been doing the entire time. And if you press the pocket from the outside and then collapse it and he has to exit above like C.J. Stroud does every week, like C.J. Stroud's one of the guys that can run to his right or run to his left and throw downfield. Sam Darnold's just not one of those guys, so you have to have a pass rush plan. Eric Wilson. Watch what this does. This all the different motion does to this run defense. Just back, forward, oh, shoot. It just doesn't have a real good sense of where the ball is. Footwork's all jacked up. Ends up making the play, but that's one of the plays that when we talk about Quay for the last 4 years is, hey, we don't want you to get blocked where you're standing at 5-6 yards and then have to make a tackle for 8. We want you to try to tackle line of scrimmage. But all the window dressing that they're doing, Minnesota Vikings, all of that action, all the problems they've had in under center play actions, all of that adds up to we're not trusting our eyes maybe as much as we need to. We go gun 2x2 here. We got kind of a nasty look on the upside, and they go motion across the trips. We're going to fire the corner because they can't get enough pressure. But when you fire a guy from here and we can see him coming, Darnold just throws to where he was. Easy completion, first down. And that's the kind of stuff, it's like textbook. So, Minnesota just, to their credit, they did have a lot of answers, I think, when you just look strictly at schematically what was going on in this football game. One thing I was thinking about yesterday was, if I'm game planning this defense, who am I game planning against? So you obviously go through, okay, what's the history of the coordinator? What do they like to do in these certain situations? What do they do on first down, on third down, et cetera? But one thing that I just know from experience is who blows up your game plan? Who screws? Warren Sapp blows up your game plan. John Randall blows up your game plan, right? Those kind of guys are guys you have to game plan for, or you have a real problem. And usually listen, I'm sure they game plan for Ed Reed too. But usually those guys are kind of close to the line of scrimmage because you're talking about really good athletes that are really close to the quarterback. Who is that on this football team? Like when you're game planning and there's not a guy where you're like, oh, we really got to worry about so-and-so, TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, those types of players. We thought that was Rashad Gary was going to be. When you don't have to game plan for that guy, this is pretty easy. I mean, it's standard deviation or easier than if you have to go like, holy hell, if we don't put two hands on this guy every play, we're in a lot of trouble. Now, I'm asking, watching this kid in a number of games this year, and he's not perfect, and he's got some, sometimes your instincts are wrong when you're young. Sometimes you're slow to read something, some eye candy. But just as a player, I think he's established himself as, at least in that box, he's the guy. Like, he's the alpha. I'll bet you. I'm guessing it's not going to be too long till he's running like the pregame breakdown. You know what I mean? Like, he's that guy who's talking in the breakdown instead of one of these vets. If it's not happening already, it's probably coming up pretty soon. And I'm wondering if he's the game plan guy, because he just seems to be a lot better than everybody else. He just shows flashes every week now where you go, okay, well, he's different. He's a different kind of football player. So, and again, it's one of those things where, we're watching this somewhat chronologically, and you go, all right, obviously you have to pick some of these plays out, but it wasn't that hard to find where Cooper just makes a play in the run game, tackle for loss, tackle for a yard gain, whatever. And then we got one of these where we show split safety, then we come down. We're really just playing quarters up top here, but they're playing quarters and they press it up and they just leave this monster gap on the backside. Usually in this situation, they're trying to look for the 3-by-1 and they might poach this guy on the other side. They're not doing that. And they just leave that space wide ass open. Of course, Donald's got enough time to throw, can plant his feet and put it in there. It's just too easy. Under center again. Really interested in bringing Cooper, trying to create some of that pressure, right? I don't know if they sense that something's happening. This is going to be an under center look. I mean, certainly the motion, the position of the tight end suggests they're not going split flow here. So I don't know if this is a check, but they're just going to very simply, Sam Darnold's going to throw it to where he was, or maybe where he would be in this drop. So they just run the in. There's no underneath window he has to throw through, and this turns out to be a PI. So Mike, you're showing me an incompletion. Well, PI 15 yards. You guessed it, guys. Another run, another Edgerrin Cooper. Tackle for loss, tackle for no gain. The instincts, the speed, the awareness, really, the time that it takes for him to see something and do it compared to the other guys in this room on this team is the gap is continuing to separate. You look at Isaiah McDuffie. Wilson's had a great year, and he's different. He's like Fred Warner. It's like look, go, right? You see it. He doesn't have to be antsy. He just go. And some of these other guys are pressing and reading on their way. He's like, that read and react is ridiculous fast. And he's out athleting guards. He's not having to really take on too many guys. He understands angles. That's something that you really don't know if he's going to be able to do until you get to the league, and he can do it well. Pass rush plan. Why do we have multiple people above Sam Darnold? You cannot tackle Sam Darnold if you're 2 yards, 3 yards past the pocket. It's just, we've talked about this all year. It comes back to bite you. It's hard to understand what the thought process is, knowing that this guy is not a a guy who likes to escape outside to his right or left and throws well on the run. The game before, we showed it on our tape. He throws downhill, running, escaping the pocket north and south. He throws incredibly well. And so this is just a simple step up. There's no pressure, easy completion for a first down. I just wanted to show this. It's just to show like how difficult it is to play in the National Football League. You look at every other person is kind of blurred because they're going in motion. You see Cooper's downhill. Now they're running a stunt on the backside, to be fair. Isaiah McDuffie's going to get to his leverage spot outside the tight end. And Wilson's like a half step slow here. And because he's a half step slow, guard gets up, blocks him, they're through, first down, on their way to a touchdown. And it's literally that simple. It's every second, it's a half step. I mean, that's how tough it is to play in this league. He just didn't read that quite fast enough. Shotgun, 2x2 again. Just a great seam throw, honestly. Sometimes, you play football and it's like, that was a hell of a throw, in that situation. Now, obviously, we talked about this in our pregame show. They love to run a ton of deep routes, right? 15 yards or more. And when you do that, and you don't have these intermediate routes, and then you do these little checkdowns down on the 45 here, or 40, what is that, the 47? You create, because of that 15 yards of separation between the two receivers, vertical separation. I mean, the Packers defender on the 40, like, what's he going to do? There's no way to be right here. And this is a 3rd and 2 or a second and 3. This is not a situation where they're just running sticks or anything like that. Or, these are because you are constantly, we always call this being in front of the six, right? This just means that you're always in like an advantageous down, 2nd and 4, 2nd and 3, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. It's not 3rd and 12. It's not 2nd and 9. Because of that, you have the ability to run all these deep routes, and you can, you're not getting any pass rush from the Green Bay. You can run all this stuff, create this vertical separation, and put this defender in a place where he can't be right. There's just so much space and time. So, yeah, you're like, hey, great checkdowns, first down. That's just all that is a first down completed play. And you can say, oh, were they trying to go big? And this? No, all they're trying to do is get a first down. That's it. It's that simple. So we're going to fire Cooper here again. Pick everybody up. Throw to where he could have been. Almost the exact same look on the in cut. We saw it 6 plays ago. And now you start thinking maybe they're reading their mail. So we motion across, and we fire everybody from the backside. Nixon's just hoping he gets this. But now you're in a 3x2 situation. Really difficult. Justin Jefferson's got the football. Another first down play. Really good block, actually, by Addison. Go under center. Play action. And, guys, this is the job description. You got to win one-on-ones. And, obviously, what is the reason you run play action? Well, there's a couple major reasons that you run under center play action pass. One, for the majority of the offensive line, it's easier to run because you can be aggressive with your cell. It takes the pass rush thought process away from the defensive line. Your timing's better. The reads are easier. So all of this is advantageous. Not as many people do it as they used to, but these guys are masters at it. But you got to be able to pick up something from the stances, the formations, the splits, something as a defensive lineman. That's part of the job description to be able to win some of these. And Carl Brooks won a couple. Reps, certainly. Won a couple. But again, where is that guy that you're going, we're going to win? This guy's going to win 70% of the time. It's just a question of whether he gets his hands on the quarterback or not. But he's going to win the rep 70%. Where is that guy? How are we going to develop that group of guys? because I think you have the talent. The guy that gets the most pressure here is guess who? Adrian Cooper, out on the right tackle. I mean, it's and Javon Bullard. Oh, you got this. No, like you can't have that much time to throw the football with a receiving crew as good as they are. It's just you can't. You can't do it. You want to win, you can't do it, and so that puts you in a really bad position. Offensively, because you come out and you feel like you gotta take the game. You got to match scores with them. And, quite frankly, they only scored 27. They could have easily scored in the 30s. So this game, 25-27, you see the box score, you go, it could have been better. Jordan Love is a really good football player. He goes 19 of 30. He's got 185 yards and a touchdown. It's sacked 3 times. Okay? The star of this football team is Josh Jacobs. Period. Until going into the second half, it's 13-3. Josh Jacobs ends the game with 17 carries. The game plan player for the Green Bay Packers is Josh Jacobs. The only reason the Packers are 11-5 is Josh Jacobs. The reason the Packers have been able to start fast is Josh Jacobs. So when he only has 17 carries for 69 yards and has run well, quite frankly, had the early fumble, and Jordan Love is coming out and doesn't have a bad second quarter, but isn't taking charge. There's only one. In other words, there's one guy who's going to take charge of the team early in this game, and unfortunately, he fumbled. And I think that really does something, to a football team. These guys, you come back and you have to be commended for that, certainly. But this is one of those games as an offense you got to go in and take. And the minute when you watch this tape, the Minnesota Vikings they ran a very basic linebacker dog with a spike look on the 3 technique, and they run it a ton. They ran a couple different coverages. They get you to third down. They can do some different things, but this was a scenario where you're not sustaining your blocks. You're getting pushed back at the line of scrimmage a little bit from time to time. You had a quarterback who's throwing off his back foot and maybe didn't make some of let's get first downs and not home runs all the time. And then unfortunately your best player fumbled the ball away, and maybe that changed a couple of ideas that you had in your head as a play caller. But this is where you look at this team, and we'll show it earlier. Sean Ryan getting kind of popped in the mouth by this linebacker. You got to come out as an offensive line, especially, and go, hey, look, man, I understand the crowd noise. I understand what that's going to do to our snap count time and all this. And we got to take control of this game. We got the best back in the game. This, arguably the best player in this football game is number 8. We got to make sure he's got an opportunity. Because look what he does here on the first play. So they run split flow. You got the right guard standing up too high. He's not ready for this play. Gets hit in the mouth. Josh Jacobs makes him miss, goes from a 3-yard loss, falls forward for a 3-yard gain. And that's why, you got to do everything in your power to make sure you give him a chance. Now, Walker here does a great job. I was just staring at the ball. So there's going to be problems with that later. But because you're staring at the ball, you have no idea what's going on around you. But does a great job here of taking a hard step and getting up to that linebacker. Blocking. Does a phenomenal job there. Now, next one. That's a nice circle, Mike. Jesus. We got a hinge here, and I don't know how he knows how to do this, but he pretty much lets Van Ginkel go on the backside. We got a pull by Jenkins. So we got a backside hinge, and for whatever reason, he just takes the head off of this safety cat and opens this lane up. Does a phenomenal job. And then, unfortunately, Jacobs fumbles, which you just don't see happen very often as part of the deal. But, these guys are, listen, in every football game, some guys are coming into play. some are coming in to knock your head off. So they show it, go motion across and orbit back around. So we got really a trips look again. And here we are. Just hit singles. There's only one guy that's covered in this picture. And it's the guy I didn't circle. The rest of these guys, and you got a clean pocket, throw the ball, right? Get 5 yards, maybe you get 10 if you hit the cross, in between the linebackers. But we can make a miss on the 10 on top of the numbers here. On the hash it, we're gonna get minimum 5 to 7 yards. Instead, you throw the out. It's the only one that's covered. And if you connect it, it's great, but it's like sometimes it's okay to hit singles. We got under center, clean pocket. Now you make the right read, step into the throw. You drift to your left, throw off your back foot. And for every great throw that you have, in these situations when you need it and you don't step in and you don't use your fundamentals, that's the part where I think as you look at this from a coaching staff or you look at it as a player perspective, you go, okay, this is what I need to improve because I got to be able to go into this situation and either connect an easier pass or hit this one on the dot because I stepped into the throw. Now, we knew that because of Minnesota, the crowd noise, everything that goes along with that, there's an issue with the snap timing. We know that. And we also know that because they still have Josh Myers looking between his legs, he has to reorient, snap the ball, all of these things, in a very, very short amount of time. I personally think this is the hardest thing you could be asking him to do because it's not like he looks back up and then takes a second or does some sort of head thing. He just pops his head up and snaps the damn ball, and it happens pretty fast. And I think it's particularly difficult for him, but it's also very difficult for these tackles. So Walker's a little bit late. Get into Love's grill here, and they almost get a pick. You see how fast that happens. It just puts everybody in a bind. And they do a pretty good job of picking this up, except for Gennard over there on Rashad Walker. And we've all been there. If you played football and gone to Minnesota, you know how tough it is to get off on the snap count if you're playing out wide. Okay, so they're going to fire him again. And this is kind of like, Sean Ryan remembers the last time. And so he crosses over, he goes real flat, doesn't really gain any ground, and just gets pushed sideways. And so they're able to retrace at the linebacker position because they don't get any vertical movement. And we got a tackle for nothing. And those things happen because I see that guy might be coming. I want to be ready for it. But just be ready for it with better pad level. Use your fundamentals. You see the space here, and I get it. Okay, I get it. I know you just want to throw this little bubble and they could block, and maybe we got a one-on-one. And I know this Harrison Smith, and he's like a 6-time All-Pro, so maybe it's not a great idea. But blah 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 blah. I get all of it. Just run the damn ball because look at the numbers you got here. Okay, you got Tucker Kraft coming back in motion, playing fullback. They're going to run a little wham trap. So we've got block out, block out, block out. With Josh Myers going right, we got a double team on the 3 technique. We're going to trap the defensive end. There's a single linebacker in the box. You're up to the safety. You don't have anything to think about. I mean, it is really that easy. Watch the hole for Josh Jacobs. Now, is the safety filling faster if he hands it off? Yes, he is. But, oh, my God. Right? And this is the unfortunate part. I was watching another game. And I think it was the Houston, and they keep throwing these bubble screens. And it looks like there's advantageous running lanes, and the bubble screens go for nothing. And you're sitting there, and I just tell you as a lineman, it's it turns into a free play, right? But as a lineman, you're going God, we only get so many run plays called anyways. I know the Packers get a lot, but when we have a chance to really pound them in the run game and you throw that bubble and it doesn't work, you're putting us in a situation now where we got to throw it, which is not exactly what the hell we want to do anyways. So I don't know. I've just never been a big fan of the bubbles. I know they work sometimes. Now, one of the reasons you can't always run the football is because if your center is not going to sustain his blocks, sustain. And for whatever reason, it really stood out. He's had a couple of weeks of playing well. But and listen, I think that Phillips is a good player. But, I mean, come on. Like, you already won the block. How does he get off? It just doesn't make sense. Same thing here. I think we're going to step across. Get your pad level down. Get your head across. Sustain. Can't outrun and make this play. By the way, Josh Jacobs carrying Harrison Phillips for 4 or 5 yards there is insane. Now, this is what it's supposed to look like. This is backside. So they shoot the linebacker to the B gap again. They're going to spike the 3 technique. You can see the 3 techniques tighten up. Like, if you're watching tape and you see this and you see him spike, you okay, when I'm in the game now and I see him this tight, I'm thinking he might spike, right? When I'm in the game now and I see this guy getting a little antsy, I'm thinking he might shoot the gap. So Zach Tom takes a step back, gets his hips into it, creates the lane, and now we're out the gate. And that's how you have huge plays in a running game when guys are moving on the line of scrimmage, when they're moving horizontally, and you can cut the defense, whether it's by trapping them from the other side or whether it's by cutting them off with the guy you have. That's where huge holes are in defenses. That's why, like, really, really good teams with great defensive lines don't spend a lot of time moving their guys around and run stunts and dogs, because they know what there's a downside to it. Now, they'll do it every once in a while, but a good team will say, my 3 technique is just going to beat the brakes off you, and that's all we need to do. So we shoot the gap again with the linebacker. Bearing down. Got a guy wide ass open. Just kind of miss here. And listen, it's easy for me to sit here and go, oh, this guy's open. I get it, right? And that was because of pressure. Now, we talked about earlier how Rashad Walker was doing a great job with play speed, but now you see his helmet, he's looking at the ball. And this is just a palms up moment, right? If you got a 5 technique on you, you can't just leave him for the tight end. Tucker Kraft's a good blocker, but, like, what are we doing? But you kind of got your heart set on staring at that football now, so you're gonzo. Guy comes in, and we got a problem. So, tough sledding. So Jordan Love, he sees the one-on-one. And, we got a lockdown corner over there, quite frankly. He's jammed up. Right now, and this is that 4th down play. Right now, Jaden Reed's open, right? And he was open in the first window. Try to get him to the second. You're worried about that linebacker. You're trying to fit it in. So you throw it a little bit outside. Doesn't make the play. We get flushed. So the ball must get a pick here, begging for a call. Why does this happen? Let's watch the center. I told you they'd be pressuring the center by putting a guy over the top when they do their 3-man lines and use those linebackers. Put them over the top, and you're just stressing them. So this should be a relatively easy pickup, but because he misses with his hands, he's too high, he bends, he gives up the backside. 51's running into his face. Running back cars just shift over. Jordan Love does a good job of getting out of the way, but really, this is an easy pickup. Just got to use technique. And this is the one thing about Josh Jacobs, man. He just makes chicken salad. Jump cut, incredible play. Center completely misses on this. Right. On the ground. Harrison Phillips in the hole. Jump cut out. And that's why you still got a chance. Realistically, that's why you have a chance in the playoffs. So what do the Packers have to do to kind of have a chance in these playoffs? Like, what do they really have to, like, what do you got to do to get better? What's the path to success? Number 1, O-line. Take charge, got to play physical in the run game from the jump. You have to be the hammer, not the nail. Number 2, defensive line, got to win some one-on-ones. You're going to be playing some combination of the Eagles, the Vikings, and the Lions. And they're all have, the Eagles and the Lions have great offensive lines. And the Vikings offensive line against you guys look pretty good. So got to win those 1v1 matchups. Have to find a way to stress them pre-snap or at least get some reads so you have a better idea of what's happening. And then certainly the quarterback's got to play with incredible confidence from the jump. So let's see if it happens. That's the show. Thanks for watching. You can find me at MikeWall68 on Twitter, Process to Perform Instagram. Thank you to our sponsors at Bet Online. And as always, check out, subscribe, rate, and review the show on Process to Perform channel on YouTube. Thanks, guys. Have a great week. We'll get to you next week.